So, good afternoon, good night, good evening, good morning, my people. This video is to take a look at Mohammed, not what's his name, Mohammed Hijab's interview with Bart Ehrman. But first, I want to say all praises to the triune God who give wisdom to look at things deeply. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna look just be showing you spots in the dialogue where Mohammed Hijab, you could tell that he definitely he's making claims that he read Bart Ehrman's work, but you could see that obviously that he did not do good research, because some of the questions that he asks, he did not realize that they would fall in favor of the Christian and not in favor of him. We know that Bart Ehrman is an educated fool. We all know that, and so when you see a Muslim like Hijab take Bart Ehrman on their show, what is expected outcome would be that it would paint a picture to make Islam look better than Christianity, because that's his goal. If you look at about the I think it was the 23 minutes 16-second marker, like the 23 minutes 16-second marker, you will see where he's trying to paint Islam as better than Christianity. But what you see is he failed terribly, because he did not do a proper research on Bart Ehrman, and you will see as we go along. So what I'm going to do is share the video, and then we're going to start at certain points, because people like Chris Claus did a great job in pointing out something, and the brother Jai, he did a good job pointing out some things. You also have Rob Christian, who do a good job pointing out some things. I think Rob Christian kind of go in detail. I didn't watch the whole thing from Rob Christian. I watched part of it, but I watched the whole thing from Chris Claus. And Chris Claus actually took certain points. Chris Claus and Brother Jai actually took certain points out, and they did great job on that. I think so other people did. I don't know who else did. Christian Prince, maybe. I would have to really catch up on these videos, which I'm trying to do because I'm off today. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna show you from about 7:34 on the video, what the reason Bart Ehrman say he leave Christianity. And this is what the this guy should have catch on to real fast, and he did not even see the reason Bart Ehrman leave Christianity. So let's play that part of the video. Let's share the video, and then we play that part of the video just to show you that Mohammed Hijab was not listening keenly. His ego was to put Christianity down. He was not in the business of listening to what Bart Ehrman was saying. So let's go to the video, and we are going to listen to what Bart Ehrman said. The reason he leave Christianity. He did not leave because of the contradiction, the so-called contradiction that he found. He leave for another reason. Listen.
She did leave the faith. About 25 years ago, I stopped being a Christian. And it wasn't actually because of the scholarship. The reason I left the faith was not because I knew the Bible had mistakes, or I knew that for a long time. And I stayed a Christian for a long time, knowing that. What made me leave the faith was I got to a point where I just couldn't believe that there was a God who was in the world, who was active, a loving, powerful God who's active in the world, given all of the massive suffering that people experience. I just thought, I just don't believe it anymore.
So you see, he didn't leave Christianity because of his so-called contradiction that he found. in the Bible. He lived because he believed that there could never be a loving God who sit back and watch the suffering that goes on in the world. But the Bible, and that is the crazy thing about people like Bart Ehrman. Where did the Bible tell Bart Ehrman that there will not be suffering? Do you see that? So he's basing his idea on a premise that is not in the Bible, something that is not in the Bible. Where did the Bible tell people like Bart Ehrman that there will not be suffering in the earth, mass suffering? The Bible speak about earthquake, famine, all kind of things. Where did the Bible say that there would not be suffering in the earth? The Bible didn't tell anyone that. So Bart's expectation was something that God did not promise Bart. Do you see? God did not promise Bart that there would be no suffering in the earth. So why was Bart looking for God to stop suffering that God did not promise Bart that he would stop? This is, showing you. And then you will go and you will see how Mimi Hijab did not even pick up on this thing. Like, oh, this man did not leave Christianity because of the so-called contradiction that he found. Because the thing about it is this. Let's say there is contradiction in the Bible. There's contradiction in the Bible, or contradiction in anything, right? Say, for example, if my father give me commandment and to give to my brothers and to give to other people, and by the time it trickled down to where it get to this person, something is left out, and something is left out. Does that mean that it's still not the commandment of my father? Yes, it is. Not because something is left out. That doesn't mean that it is not the commandment of my father. It's still the commandment of my father. So you will say, okay, he gave it to John, and he gave it to Matthew, and he gave it to Mark, and he gave it to Luke. But Luke is saying this, and this person is saying that. That doesn't mean. And even if there is something that Luke said that Mark did not say, that doesn't mean that it's not God's commandment. We have to look into these things, and it is illogical to think that a book is not from God because it have contradiction. You find that only in the Quran. The Quran you could say it is illogical. Why? Because the Quranic God promised that He will be the one who protect this book. If you look at the Quran, I'm go there. I think it's 482. You go there at 482, and it says, "Then do they not reflect upon the Quran? If it had been from any other than Allah, there would have found within it much contradiction." But if you notice that it says much contradiction, it didn't say you will not find any contradiction. It says much contradiction. And if you go to a picture that is Sahih International, it's a much incongruity. So, and then you go to Yusuf Ali, he said much discrepancy. You go to Shakir, many a discrepancy. You go to Mohammed Sawar, many contradiction. You go to Mushin Khan, much contradiction. You go to Arbery, much inconsistency. So even the God of Islam is whoever the mind of this person, the author of the Quran, is saying much inconsistency, much contradiction, much discrepancy, much incongruity. So you see, the expectation of whoever wrote the Quran is that there is going to be inconsistency in the Quran, and there is. Do you see that? So we will play another portion of the video, and you will see where Mohammed Hijab is actually appealing to Bart Ehrman. He's seeking the approval of Bart Ehrman for his Quran. If you go, let's see, 23:16. You go to 23:16, you will see where Mohammed Hijab is actually seeking the so like 23:16. Let's see.
Have you ever looked at that yourself and been interested in that?
I'm not.
So he's asking Bart Ehrman if he ever look into the Quran and be interested in that, because people like Mohammed Hijab, they believe that compared to the Bible, the Quran is preserved and this and that and all this and that. But it is stupid, because you have people like Brubaker, you have people, so many people, even us regular people. You have Christian Prince, you have all these people, you know, Rob Christian, you have Adam Seeker. They showing inconsistency in the Quran. If you compare the Wash Quran with the Hafs Quran, you see that there is problem in there. In I think it is Surah 3 verse 146, you see where the Wash, I think the Wash say fought, and then in the Hafs it says were killed. So the word fought, one say fought and the other say were killed. So it is you know, you will see that there is inconsistency in the Quran. But you will hear something that Mohammed Hijab says, and you will know that this guy doesn't really think about what he's saying, because he's looking at Bart Ehrman as an ignoramus in a sense, because he knows that Bart Ehrman knows nothing about the Quran in a sense, and Bart Ehrman will confess that he knows nothing about the Quran.
You know, I'm not a Quran scholar, obviously, but I would like to say a couple things about it. One is that it does seem to me that if a book is without contradictions, that has no bearing on whether it comes from God or not.
And that's it. And listen to. I want to listen to this keenly. He says, not because a book is without paraphrasing him, not because a book is without contradiction, that doesn't mean that it comes from God. Because if you look at Shakespeare, any Shakespeare book, like, you know, if you look at a Shakespeare book, My Father's Son, Son Johnson, say for example, that's not Shakespeare, but look at My Father's Son, Son Johnson, that a lot of Jamaicans read it when we were in high school, and the American people in America read that, and I'm sure people other places in the world read that. When you look at My Father's Son, Son Johnson, I'm sure each copy of My Father's Son, Son Johnson, there is no contradiction in them, and that does not mean that My Father's Son, Son Johnson was written by God. And other books you could look at, you know, you could look at other books, like for example, when I was in nursing school, all the textbook that we order textbook, and when we order the textbook, we all get the same textbook, and the name of the author, the edition, and all that, and we get the name, the textbook, and we read the textbook, and we could read and be at the same place, and everything is cohesive because we are reading from the same text. But God didn't reveal that. God did not reveal that, and this is how I believe that God is getting rid of the shallow-minded people. I believe God allowed certain things to happen to get rid of the shallow-minded people, because you are shallow-minded if you believe that because a thing is of no contradiction, it is from God, and the one that have contradiction does not is not from God. God gave man things to handle, and man can have error in the way they type things and the way and things that they say and all this stuff. For example, if I'm reading, I'm saying something to someone and I make a mistake, and I didn't even notice that I made that mistake, that person could write the mistake that I say. But that doesn't mean that what I was telling him was not the truth. I was telling the truth, but then when I got to a place and I said, and John was there, instead of saying James, that doesn't mean that all the other things that I say is not true. You see what I'm saying? Because we have the mind of human being, and God knows that we have the mind of human being. So for us to say that something is from God because he have no errors in it, that's illogical. And how do we know really that the Quran have no error in it? We do not know if the Quran, even if the Quran have no error, how would we tell exactly that the Quran have no error at all? Even if we today we could not find any error in the Quran, how can we say that the Quran, the original Quran, have no error at all? Because what we found, according to Muslim historical evidence for the Quran compilation, we have Muslims. Abu Muhammad said the description of Uthman's work that was compiled in the presence of his companion, while he copying the Mus'haf, he burned what he burned from them, from what he had changed intentionally or by mistake. So you see, you have Ibn Masud, who was one of the people that Muhammad say learned the Quran from, refusing to give up his Quran to Uthman to burn. And you have later Al-Hajjaj. Al-Hajjaj came the same way, and people were refusing to give the Quran. Al-Hajjaj was threatening to erase Uthman's Quran, Uthman Mus'haf, with the rib of a swine. And you know what our Muslims feel about swine. So you see that how do we come to the conclusion that the Quran have no error when it's obvious from history that we don't even have the original Quran. We don't have the original Quran because people are saying Uthman was a liar. Uthman was not a good person, and he was a liar, and is deceptive. So let's continue to see what. So you see why Bart Ehrman leave Christianity. He leave because he believed God, a just God would not, or a loving God would not cause the suffering that is caused. So let's continue a little bit, and we'll see what Bart Ehrman says.
And so it's not impossible for a human to write a book without contradictions, because many people do. And so I've had phone books.
But hold on a minute. Let's go back a little bit.
Many people don't know is that the authenticated hadiths are much more few in number and compared to the inauthentic hadiths. So we have literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of hadiths, statements of the Prophet which have been rejected, have been seen as weak or unreliable, or mawdu', which is fabricated, or matruk, or there's different classifications. And a significant minority, or even you can say a minority, generally speaking, of those hadiths constitute what is referred to as the sunnah, which is the authentic hadiths and so on, notably in the books of Al-Bukhari and Muslim and so on. So I do think that there's something to look at there if you're interested in maybe
from here,
not text criticism, but
because he's trying to sell Islam right here
of Islam as a point of comparison, maybe to see. Have you ever looked at that yourself and been interested in that?
I'm not a Quran scholar, obviously, but I would like to say a couple things about it. One is that it does seem to me that if a book is without contradictions, that has no bearing on whether it comes from God or not.
True.
Did you hear what he says? True. Hijab, Hijab actually say true. He actually said true when the man says it have no contradiction. That doesn't mean that it come from God. He actually say true. That's a little spot that I should have catch. I go back too far, but listen to this.
But I would like to say a couple things about it. One is that it does seem to me that if a book is without contradictions, that has no bearing on whether it comes from God or not.
Do you hear that? He said true. But this is what this is the rhetoric that these Muslims are selling, the narrative that they are selling, that because it have no contradiction, quote unquote. We know it have contradiction, but they are selling because it have no contradiction. It is the word of God, and this is how stupid these Muslims are. This is how stupid they are. You know, these people who are selling these information. And when I talk about these stupid Muslims, I'm not talking about the lay Muslim who buy that stuff and sell it. I'm talking about these people who actually are faced every day and know that there is contradiction in the Quran. But he's dealing with Bart Ehrman, and he know Bart Ehrman doesn't study Islam. So what he decided to do is to sell that stupid narrative to Bart Ehrman. And let's look at 5. We're gonna go back to 5 and see what he says. Something he's gonna pretend as if he actually respect Bart Ehrman's view and stuff, but he doesn't, you know, because at the end of the day, he did not know what was coming from Bart Ehrman, because if he had done his research, he would have known that Bart Ehrman does not agree with what Islam says. So he did not do a proper research, and that's why he find himself into the trap that he found himself in, because in his mind he believed he did a good research. So listen to him now.
I do really respect the level of work that comes into, you know, your line of specialism. Someone has to learn this language, and then manuscript kind of analysis and looking at trying to draw inferences from it and stuff like this. It really is the work of specialists. And you've been doing this for that many years. So obviously, it was only then really when I started to realize how heavy this was in terms of being able to be a great text critic. It's not. But
does he really respect Bart Ehrman's about what Bart Ehrman said? No, he don't. he don't respect, because Bart Ehrman shows that the historical Jesus was crucified. If he had done anything, if he had just Googled something, he would have seen that Bart Ehrman doesn't agree with Islam. So when he tried to use Bart Ehrman to, you know, he actually, there was a part where he, I think it's 23, 24, 43. He actually, I think somewhere around there, said to Bart Ehrman that his view kind of line up with Christianity. I'm paraphrasing, line up with Islam more than it lines up with Christianity, and it's not true. It is not true at all. Bart Ehrman don't believe that Islam have the historical Jesus. We have so many. I've been using that against Muslims when they quote Bart Ehrman so many times. So Bart Ehrman don't believe that Islam portray the historical Jesus at all. He don't believe that. You know, so when you look at these Muslims and what they're saying, and if we go back to where Bart Ehrman said he remained a Christian, for if you go back to 734, Bart Ehrman said he remained a Christian after he knows that there were so-called contradictions in the Bible. Why did he remain a Christian? Is he a hypocrite? Or did he believe that it is possible for God to give man revelation and man causes contradiction in these revelations that God gives? He did not leave Christianity because of the contradictions. He actually leave Christianity, according to him, You go to 7:34, he leave because he believed that a just God would not allow all this human suffering. But God never promised him that he will not allow human suffering. Everything that happened on the face of the earth happened for a reason. And it is sad to see human blaming God for human suffering in some of the ways, like starvation, lack of medication, lack of this, lack of that. Because what? The rich was supposed to be helping the poor, but we don't. We don't do as much as we're supposed to do for the people around us. We sit back and in a pretense and in make believe life that we spend so much on a pair of shirt, we spend so much on a pair of shoes when people are hungry out here. So a lot of the sufferation, God put us leave laws for us to take care of these sufferation that is in the world, and we were supposed to be the hand of God to lessen the sufferation of people, but we choose not to do what we're supposed to do. And I'm sure Bart Ehrman himself is guilty of that, because I am also guilty. Is that all of us, we are guilty of not doing as much as we can do. So it's just crazy to see, but let's see what else is on the agenda. So we know that he doesn't actually agree with Bart Ehrman, but he pretend as if he agreed. We're going to go to 8:47 and see what he says. And this is where, you can speak for Islam, but stop trying to speak for Christianity. And that's where we're going to see this guy trying to speak for Christianity. So here he is.
Well, I mean, your work, as I've said, is not just applicable or relevant to kind of Christians. It's very much relevant to Muslims as well.
How is Bart Ehrman work relevant to Christians? Bart Ehrman work is not relevant to any Christian, because as we see from what Bart Ehrman is saying, it does. Bart Ehrman mind is not working, functioning properly. Educated mind, but it's not functioning properly. So his reason for not believing in God is what? So you would not believe in your God too, because sufferation is there, and your God claim to be. Your Quran claim that your God is, but there's sufferation here. So Bart would not believe in your God. So how is it, you're trying to appeal to Bart Ehrman, while Bart Ehrman is actually condemning your God? Do you see? And what Bart Ehrman have to say, how does that affect Christianity? It's not like Bart Ehrman, somebody die and give Bart Ehrman the handle to Christianity, and it's not given to anyone else. If Bart Ehrman really want to have a good dialogue, let him dialogue with a notable Christian that knows how to answer him. Notice you have Mohammed Hijab having dialogue with Bart Ehrman. Why is it that Bart Ehrman don't find himself in dialogue with some of these notable Christian apologists out here? It's a different. Didn't hold on. I don't want to tell a lie. I think one time, what's the name of Bart Ehrman on his show, or maybe it wasn't Bart Ehrman. No, I don't want to make up something, but in my mind there is from a distance before that I think somebody else have Bart Ehrman on. But anyway, let's continue.
Because, as you know, in the Islamic faith, Muslims believe in Jesus Christ as well, and obviously there's competing narrative ideas as to who Jesus Christ was, in fact. And the main, I would say, the fundamental difference between the kind of Muslim faith and the Christian faith in this regard is that Muslims view Jesus Christ as a prophet and as a messenger, a prophet and a Messiah, but not as God or the Son of God. In fact, the Quran is very explicit that he doesn't claim to be a God himself. In fact, this is seen as a fabricated.
Do you see the stupidity? The Quran is explicit. What's the Quran? The Quran is not historically based on Jesus. The Quran came after the life of Jesus. It's not historically based. The author of the Quran did not know Jesus, even though these people claim that it's from their God. It's Mohammed. Mohammed did not know Jesus. So, what's reliable? What is reliable is for someone to quote what people who live at the time of Jesus say, not for someone to say Jesus said this and Jesus said that, when there is no historical proof of what that Jesus says are the things that the Quran say that Jesus said. So here he is talking to someone who is dealing with things on a historical basic, and he's talking about the Quran. Always what the Quran say about Jesus historical? It's not historical. Who was there when Jesus said all the things that is inside the Quran? It is just conjectures that someone says, Jesus says, and because he said, it's a God that says that Jesus says that. No, God worked with witnesses. In the book of Deuteronomy and also in the Corinthians, you see where a matter is established by two or three witnesses, two or more witnesses. So who is the witness to say that Jesus said this and Jesus will say? Jesus will say, only Jesus can say what he will say. And only Jesus, and if God is saying it, God is coming from a reliable source to say what Jesus will say. But always Muhammad a reliable source? He's not reliable. We know the life of Muhammad. Muhammad believed he was possessed and all this stuff. So whatever he says is not reliable. So I don't know why he's appealing here, using the Quran. If you are going to talk to Bart Ehrman, cut out the Quran talking.
Some kind of a contrivance on the narrative. And really the Islamic idea is that there cannot be someone, it's not intelligible or conceivable or pardonable for someone with a date of birth to be referred to as God anyway. So
do you see how stupid this donkey is? Look at him, stupid donkey. Do you see how stupid he is? Like, with a date of birth. Let's show you something that Bart Ehrman says. And you see that this donkey didn't do his research on Bart Ehrman. This donkey did not do his research on Bart Ehrman before he started galloping all over the place. So let's show you what Bart Ehrman says. So this is from Bart Ehrman blog. So we're going to Bart Ehrman blog and show you what Bart Ehrman says. And I want you guys to see it. I'm going to read it, and then you guys will see it for yourself. Okay, so let's make this as big as possible. This teaching of Jesus that he is divine correlate with what John says elsewhere. As we have seen in the prologue, the word was with God, and the word was God. John 1 verse 1. And in the ending, when Thomas confessed that Jesus is my Lord and my God. So you see, according to Bart Ehrman is saying that the Bible, the people within the Bible, Thomas confessed that Jesus is God, and John confessed that Jesus is God. But that's not the only thing that we will see there. You will see where he says, he says Jesus say he came down from heaven. So let's see if I could find a part. I think I have it somewhere else. Let me see if I could find it here. No, it's here. Okay. He did not do a good research. Okay. So let's, yeah, this is it right here. So let's look, read this. I don't want to, okay. We'll see where, okay, I think we are still sharing this. Okay. So here we go. In John, this is Bart Ehrman speaking. In John, Jesus teaches almost entirely about himself, who he is, his relation to the Father, and how he come into the world from heaven above to convey the truth that can bring eternal life. So you see, Bart Ehrman is saying that Jesus say he come into the world. Not, do you notice what Mohammed Hijab says? Someone who is born of his. I don't want. I will go back and read and show you what he says. But he's talking about of a birth. He's acting as if Jesus' beginning was at his incarnation, at his birth. But listen to what Bart Ehrman wrote. In John, Jesus teaches almost entirely about himself, who he is in relation to the Father, how he has come into the world from heaven above to convey the truth that can bring eternal life. So Bart is saying that Jesus came into this world from heaven above, because Jesus did say that. In John 6, verse 38, he said, I came down from heaven. In John 6, verse 62, he said, what if you see the Son of Man going back to where he was before? Do you see? So is Mohammed Hijab actually teaching the Bible? No, he's not. Arthur, bro. God bless you too, my brother. Tyler B said, neither, let me see here. Tyler B says, neither of them have any idea what they are talking about. So true. So true. So true. God bless you too, my brother. But do you see the stupidity? Let's go back and I will share with you what Mohammed Hijab says. And then I read the difference between what Bart Ehrman wrote on his blog. So let's look at what Mohammed Hijab says. We got to go back a little bit so we can see what Mohammed Hijab says. Let's see.
The fundamental difference between kind of Muslim faith and the Christian faith in this regard is that Muslims view Jesus Christ as a prophet and as a messenger, a prophet and a Messiah, but not as God or the Son of God. In fact, the Quran is very explicit that he doesn't claim to be a God himself. In fact,
but what is the Quran? As I say, what is the Quran? The Quran came after the history. The Quran is not Jesus's history. So the Quran is like a nothing. It's not Jesus's history. A true history. If the Quran God was speaking from history, he would be quoting what Jesus says. He's not quoting what Jesus says. Where is it written that Jesus say what the Quran God is saying that Jesus says? Nowhere.
This is seen as a fabricated or some kind of a contrivance.
So what is fabricated? Something that does not have any history. That's what is fabricated. What is fabricated is something that does not have any history. You come later after the source and claiming what the source says. You came after the fact, after the event, and you are putting claim into the event that no one in history knew about. So what is the fraud? The fraud is the one that is not supported by the history, the people who know, the references.
on the narrative. And really, the Islamic idea is that there cannot be someone, it's not intelligible or conceivable.
Listen to this part. This is the part I want you to listen to. This is very important what he's saying right here.
In fact, the Quran is very explicit that he doesn't claim to be a god himself. In fact, this is seen as a fabricated or some kind of a contrivance on the narrative. And really, the Islamic idea is that there cannot be someone, it's not intelligible or conceivable or pardonable for someone with a date of birth to be referred to as God anyway.
For someone with a date of birth. So according to him, what he's saying, the beginning of Jesus is the birth of Jesus. But that's not what Bart Ehrman is saying, because that's not what the Bible says. Bart Ehrman is actually saying what the Bible says. Right here, I read it again for you guys. In John, Jesus teaches almost entirely about himself, who he is, the relation to the Father, how he has come into the world from heaven above to convey the truth that can bring eternal life. So he came from heaven above, and he came via Mary as a man. So do you see, the Islamic narrative and the Christian narrative is not the same. So he is saying that a man who is born can never be God. The birth of Jesus is not the beginning of the existence of Jesus. Jesus have no beginning. There is like his life did not begin at his birth. So how is it that this guy is just zooming in on his birth? Because of a book that came later, a book that does not know the historical Jesus, author Mohammed, who doesn't know the historical Jesus, Mohammed who ran from a cave screaming and hollering, cover me, cover me. I fear for myself. What is wrong with me? This is the guy that this Abdul is relying on as a source for Jesus' life. We have Jesus saying before Abraham, and this is Bart Ehrman saying, for example, the Jews who did not believe in him, Jesus says, before Abraham was, I am. I'm actually quoting Bart Ehrman right here. John 8, verse 58. This is Bart Ehrman blog. So let's look, let me show you that this is Bart Ehrman's blog. This is actually Bart Ehrman's blog. So this guy here, I have no idea what he's talking about. You cannot compare Christianity with Islam, and that's what you cannot compare Islam with Christianity. You cannot use Islam to judge Christianity. And that's what this Abdul is doing, because they are not from the same sources. They are not cohesive. They are not, and they will never be. There is nothing about Christianity that is equal to nothing in Islam, and there's nothing in Islam that is equal to nothing in Christianity. Islam is a lie. So let's look. Let's show you. See what it says. If you guys are looking, you will see. We are not quoting from no random site. If you look at it, right, it says right here. It says Bart Ehrman blog, the history and literature of early Christianity. That's what I'm quoting from. Do you see? Right here where I'm quoting in John, Jesus teaches almost entirely about himself, who he is. Look at almost at the bottom, you will see it, who he is, his relationship to the Father, and how he has come into the world from heaven above to convey the truth that can bring eternal life. So you see that even Bart Ehrman understands that according to the gospel, Jesus was preaching. Jesus himself was preaching that he exists before he came into the world. So when the Abdul made this statement, that anyone that is born who have a beginning or something, paraphrasing him, a birth cannot be God. The Bible doesn't teach that Jesus' beginning is from his birth. No, it doesn't. And Bart Ehrman understand that when he wrote this. Do you see that? This guy is naive wolf. Okay, so what else we're gonna look into? Let's see what he says. Here's a part that I think I okay, so yes, let's see what he says right here. Let's go to a little more up more, then I will finish my video here. But I just want to show you guys some things that was said during this discussion, so you guys could see. Okay, let's go to like 24:43. We're jumping all over the place, but it's just a show. What we are dealing with here.
At that point, just to, I would agree. You know what you said about phone book. The phone book example was good. What it is usually, the way we kind of put this forward is that there's the difference between necessary and sufficient conditions. So the way we would put it is that it's a necessary condition for a book from God not to have contradictions. It's not sufficient for it to be without contradictions.
Do you hear what he says? And I'm going to run that over so you guys listen. I actually wrote it down here. It is a necessary condition that a book from God not to have contradiction. Do you hear what he says? But this guy is actually going against his own God. So let's go back and run that a little bit so we can see. Yeah, listen to this guy. All right.
Point, just to, I would agree. You know what you said about phone book. The phone book example was good. What it is usually, the way we kind of put this forward is that there's the difference between necessary and sufficient conditions. So the way we would put it is that it's a necessary condition, not sufficient for it to be without contradictions.
Okay, I'm gonna let you guys listen to Bart Ehrman respond to him, which is very, very logical. I can't take away from Bart Ehrman that he have logic in him, but at the same time, some of the things he said doesn't really make sense. But this guy says it is necessary. It is a necessary condition that a book from God not to have contradiction. But let's go back to the Quran. Listen what the Quran says. And this is Quran 4 verse 82. Then do they not reflect upon the Quran? If it had been from any other than Allah, they would have found within it much contradiction. But what he says, the Quran says much contradiction. And what did this guy say? It is a necessary condition that a book from God not to have contradiction. But the Quran says you would find much contradiction, because whoever the author of the Quran is knows that there is contradiction in the Quran. Why much contradiction? One, according to Hijab, one contradiction would be necessary, that it's not from God. And according to the Quran, it required much contradiction if it was other than Allah. Do you see? But look, let's look. Is there any contradiction in the Quran? is there any contradiction in the Quran? It depends on which Quran you are talking about. Which Quran are you talking about? Which Quran are you talking about? So let me share something with you guys, and you will see. It depends on which Quran you are talking about. So let's look at something real fast. I would advise everybody to get Grammarly, man. It's a very good thing to get. You know, you could save your ideas and all that stuff. Okay. So if you look at what we are looking at right here, let me make sure that you guys are seeing what I'm looking at. I hope you are seeing. If you look at the Hafs Quran versus the Warsh Quran, you will find that in one of these Quran, Surah 21 verse 4 says, he said, and in the other Quran, it said, say. One is saying, he said, and the other one is saying, say. So guess what? One is a commandment. If somebody says, say, that's a command. I'm telling you to say something. Come, say. But he said is a fact. An actual action. Somebody said it. But which is right? Which is the revelation of Allah? Is it he said or is it say? You go to Quran 3, verse 46. In the Hafs, it says fought. In the Warsh, it says were killed. So fought mean what is it? Qatal, and one say quitil, if I'm pronouncing the Arabic right. So you see that these are contradiction. One is fought and one is killed. So which one is the true revelation of Allah? Which one? Which one? So according to Hijab, there should be no contradiction at all. There should be no contradiction at all if it is from God. And do you notice the strenuous effort that these Muslims put into making sure that there is no contradiction in the Quran, and yet still there is? That is how mighty our God is, the real God, not the God of Islam. Because they put all the effort in, and yet still there is. You know, according to the Muslim sources, Uthman changed what he wanted to change, and intentionally or by mistake, and then he burned what he want to burn. You know, and still, you still find contradiction. Uthman was destroying the evidence against what he wrote, and yet still there is still contradiction. And Mimi Hijab just actually show us that according to his belief, his Quran is not from God. Like, I believe that God can give us things and put it into our care to preserve it. And we, there might be a corruption, not corruption, but contradiction, sorry, in what we wrote. There might be some contradiction in what we wrote, but God is mighty enough to know if what is there, it is sufficient for our salvation. And if it is not, he will intervene. Is what there sufficient for our salvation? The many times that God intervened throughout the history, intervened to bring forth a new commandment. There was a time when he commanded Israel, like, oh, you must free the slaves after a certain time. And they decided not to free the slave. And God intervened. He intervened and showed them, yes, you are doing wrong. And this is what we say. If God look and he see, hey, this is not exactly what was supposed to be conveyed. But when he look at it, it's sufficient for salvation. Why should he come with a semen-covered bandit, claiming that he's not gonna give a semen-covered nasty bandit from the 7th century, who suicidal bandit, our life in put our life in the hands of a suicidal bandit? No. If there is no need for a new revelation, God is not gonna give any new revelation. And if there is no need for re-revelation, God is not gonna give re-revelation. That it is. Whatever we have is sufficient. Whatever we have is sufficient. Man will make blunder in their translation and also in their scribal errors. They will do that. But what? God is mighty enough to let us know if we can live and be saved with these, even with these scribal errors. Yes, we can. If one verse say, oh, should be Malachi was the priest, and another person say, no, it was this person was the priest, that does not stop salvation. The core doctrine is what salvation is based upon, not the little things on the side. And sometimes God allowed these things to manifest because God is weeding out the frivolous people, the light-minded people, like Mohammed Hijab. Your mind is too light. And Bart Ehrman himself, if he's not careful, yes, Bart Ehrman himself, because if you notice, Bart Ehrman did not leave Christianity because of the problem of his so-called problem of a contradiction that he claimed he found. No, he left, and we play that again so that you guys could see why Bart Ehrman leave Christianity. Here we go.
The faith. About 25 years ago, I stopped being a Christian, and it wasn't actually because of the scholarship. The reason I left the faith was not because I knew the Bible had mistakes, or I knew that for a long time, and I stayed a Christian for a long time, knowing that. What made me leave the faith was I got to a point where I just couldn't believe that there was a God who was in the world, who was active, a loving, powerful God who's active in the world, given all of the massive suffering that people experience. I just thought, I just don't believe it anymore.
So you see, would Bart Ehrman believe in the Islamic God? No. And if you look at the rest of the video, you see where Mohammed Hijab is trying to sell Islam to Bart Ehrman, are trying to line up Islam with the belief of Bart Ehrman. As I said, Chris Claus and Jai did a very, very good video that I actually watched Chris Claus on his channel and then go back and watch it on Jai's channel because they did such a good job. Also, Rob Christian do a good job on this. As I say, I'm just going to say peace out, man, and God bless you all. Love you all, Muslim, Christian. All praises and honor to the triune God who is above all gods. And praises to the Father for sending his Son to die for my sin. And our praises to the Son who came to die for my sin. Our praises to the Holy Spirit who stay with me, reminding me of what Jesus have done for me and reminding me and keeping me in the straight path, and also impressing on my conscience to do things that I have to do, I must do. So, I have things that I am working on doing, and I'm actually I have strength, I'm back in the gym, and I'm actually gonna put myself at work to work as hard as I possibly can, because I know that I could do something for the poor people in the world, and I want to do something. I want to start something. I want to do it myself, you know, I want to be involved in that. I think that is being, you know, doing what Christ do is the most important thing for me, and that's what my mind is on now. So, you know, I'm gonna put myself on this mission if it's God's will, and want to see that mission and, you know, come to a full. But anyway, I'm gonna say peace out and God bless you all. So if you look at what we see from this video, is that not because something have no error, that means that it is not from God, and not because something have errors, that means that it is not from God. Is the error from God? No. God put things in man's care, and man are prone to make error. So because man are prone to make error, we will find error in things that God give man to take care of. But God is a father, and he's all, not the Islamic God. The Christian God is a father, and he will watch over his children. And when he watches over us, he will know at what point to intervene, what point to resend his message, and what point he should stop us from doing certain things. But Islam is not the resend of the father's message. Islam God is not a father. You know, Islam God said, how can he be a father when he have no wife? He needs sex to be a father. So we know that we don't need Islam. No man, humanity doesn't need Islam. So I'm going to say peace out and God bless you all. Love you all.